Welcome to the SBR College Basketball Closing Line for Saturday, December 22nd. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by big man on campus, Jeff Nadeau. Merry Christmas to everyone. This is going to be, I know, my last live show on SBR before the Christmas holiday. Looking forward to it. Jeff, how are you this morning?
Doing good, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, excellent. Always good when we can break down a busy Saturday college basketball card, and we definitely have that here today. Let's get right to it. We're going to do what we did last week. We'll start with some early games, the noon Eastern tip-offs. Wake Forest, Tennessee is obviously one of the main ones here. We've got Tennessee 19 and a half point favorites in this game total, 147 and a half pretty much across the board. And wow, good luck trying to get in the way of this Tennessee team right now. They've been absolutely terrific. There's no question about it. Only lost this season coming in overtime against the Kansas Jayhawks. They have been absolutely fantastic. I mean, their offense, this is the thing that's impressing me. Tennessee, in recent seasons under Rick Barnes, we've known them to be, a decent offensive team, but nothing like this. I mean, this is all of a sudden a team that can score inside, outside. It's got plenty of weapons that they can go out there. Schofield's been excellent. Williams has been phenomenal for this team. And I think it's going to be a lot for Wake Forest to deal with here. A lot of points, but I'm not in any rush to get in Tennessee's way. You're always concerned these games, these home games close to the holidays like this, will you get that, especially even an early start? Are you going to get that kind of support and extra boost from it? Is a concern, but I don't know. Danny Manning, to me, big man. I'm waiting for this guy to get this Wake program going. I thought he did a good job at Tulsa. I'm still waiting. I've been disappointed by the lack of progress I think you can say this Wake Forest team has made under his watch, and I think they're obviously going to be in for a tough matchup here. So begrudgingly, I would actually swallow the points and lay it with Tennessee if I had to, but it is a lot of points. So you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is a real, the real big step-up game for Wake. I mean, obviously, they've not really played anyone to this caliber, so it'll be interesting to see, how they come out and deal with it. They're not a great team, as you said. Danny Manning's kind of an underperforming guy. I guess he makes them relevant, but they still have a couple games left before their conference play starts. These are all games that for Wake are really just playing out the string until they get into conference play. You have to wonder what that weighs on them. It's always an interesting cap today because you have Christmas for most of these teams coming up. So, it's finishing strong for a lot of the good teams, and it's just, okay, let's get to the non-conference, get out of the non-conference season and get to conference play, because that's all we really care about at this point for an underperforming team like Wake. I'm sure they're excited. This is probably the biggest game they're going to play this year so far. But you look at Tennessee, haven't really won by this caliber of number all year. They're kind of winning by like the 15 to 18 point range. And one thing about a big underdog, when you want to get a big underdog to cover, the goal is, can they make threes and can they make foul shots? Can they score with no time coming off the clock and score with no defending? And they can do that. They're good from three, 38.5%. They're good from foul line, 72%. So that could be kind of one of those things that maybe can keep Wake in this game. But you look kind of up and down this roster. There's not a lot of talent. And as you said, not really looking to step in front of Tennessee, just the way they rebound the ball. And, they just kind of do everything right. So I wouldn't really want to step in front of them. But they haven't been a team that's covered these kind of numbers. So maybe Wake gives them something. I'm willing to say, gun to my head, and I had to take this, I'd actually take Wake. I think they could do some things maybe to stay in this one if I'm getting 20 points.
All right, Georgia Tech. We got a battle of Georgia, another early tip-off. Georgia Tech laying 138 the total in this game. Georgia, what you would expect under Tom Crean in his first season as head coach, some mixed results. They've had some good moments. They've had some tough losses. The Arizona State loss stands out as a real tough loss. They had a halftime lead. Defensively, they came apart. Rayshawn Hammonds fouled out down the stretch, one of the best players on this, arguably the best player on this Georgia Bulldogs team down the stretch. Without him, they looked like they were perilous in that game. So, they've had some mixed results. They've had a couple losses they shouldn't have. But, catching points is a role that I don't mind taking Georgia in. And I'm certainly leaning to that here in this game, looking at Georgia plus the points. Georgia Tech, off that big-time win at Arkansas, I'll be honest, I didn't see them winning that game down there in Fayetteville. But the Yellow Jackets, give them credit. Their offense worked. They slowed down what's usually in that building a tough Arkansas team to keep from making their shots. Georgia Tech, pretty solid defensively in that win, but can they withstand prosperity now, big man? That's the question. We did just see Georgia Tech lose to, I believe, Gardner-Webb just recently. So this is a team that's had some of these inconsistent mixed results. Georgia Tech off a huge win. Now you're back home laying points. Not a Georgia Tech spot in my mind. I'm betting this one. I'm taking Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's really the play here on every level. The only thing that concerns you at Georgia is they have had major problems with turnovers. I mean, they're turning the ball over about 22% of the time on offense. I mean, that's a concern. I mean, that's bad actually. They have to clean that up if you're Tom Crean. But you look at really every side of the ball though. I mean, they're good on defense. They're much better on offense at Georgia Tech. I mean, maybe we just have to realize, and I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, but I mean, outside of Jose Alvarado, I mean, Georgia Tech's not very good. I mean, there's no Ben Lammers or Josh Okogie on this team that can get them some scoring when they need it. They're just not a great offensive team. And, again, defense has always kind of been their calling card. But, you look at on the defensive end for Georgia, they've actually competed and done a nice job from there this year. Effective field goal percentage, opponent-wise, 22nd in the country. They've improved significantly, and that goes a lot to Crean. If they can just clean up the turnovers, they can be kind of, I think, a thorn in a lot of team sides this year once we get into conference play, with, Rashawn Hammonds and Nicholas Claxton and Tyree Crump. I see them live. They're a pretty good offensive team. I saw them this year up at Temple. I don't understand this number either. This is one of those games where, frankly, I'd probably just take the money line. I think you're getting a really, really nice price here. Probably a high 180, 190, maybe even a bit higher. So yeah, I would lean that way. I think they're a better basketball team. Don't really understand. This was on my radar. I don't really understand why they're getting 5.5. The only thing that keeps me off, Ian, I generally am not a big fan in college of betting 12 o'clock games, especially East Coast games. I just know how young people are, and I know, again, I'm no basketball player, but it's tough to wake up in the morning, no matter who you are, and then play a game a few hours later. It's hard to get going. Sometimes you see some weird things go on. So, I like Georgia here. I think they win this game.
All right, yeah, we're definitely in agreement with that one. I'll tell you what. Right now, I'm no soccer whiz. But I do know when I see people in the chat saying Man City down 3-1 to Crystal Palace, I know that's a stunner. I know that's a little bit of an upset in the making right there. So that's apparently big news on the pitch. So anyway.
No, it is. It really is. I mean, they went down 1-0, and then they had two, real nice goals. I mean, Townsend had a wonder goal, put them up 2-1. This is definitely weird for sure, and I don't want to talk about soccer, but, Man City is struggling a bit this year. Liverpool, they're kind of looking up at, and Crystal Palace is one of the worst teams going forward in this league. They just have major issues scoring goals. They're under 1 goal a game, frankly. I mean, this is definitely a shocker. You see these sometimes in the Premier League, so we'll see if they can hold on.
And weird results around Christmas time. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, so it's across all sports and across the pond, too. You get weird things happening this close to Christmas with results. All right, here's one, and I'm sure Big Man's going to have a solid thought on this game. It's Villanova taking on UConn. We've got 6.5 for Villanova as a favorite in this game, 145.5 the total. I believe this is an MSG, this game. Madison Square Garden, this matchup between the Huskies and Wildcats. Villanova, a team that's really tested themselves this season. They played a pretty tough schedule. You played a Kansas already. You played Michigan already. And you've really been testing this team early on, and 8-4, not what you'd expect from this Villanova team, but I'm seeing improvement with them. I'm seeing improvement defensively. I'm seeing Colin Gillespie start to get a little more selfish, which I think is a good thing for this team. Shoot the ball a little bit more, get a little more assertive offensively, help out Pascal, help out Booth. He's been doing that lately for Villanova. UConn, though, I'll tell you what, I think Danny Hurley was a great hire. There's been at the times when I've been looking to back this team as an underdog. Let's see how they handle this, though. I mean, they played Florida State, kind of struggled in that game earlier this season. UConn did. Let's see if they can handle this Villanova team here this afternoon in this game. Great game to watch. Very interesting. I think Dan Hurley's going to have this team ready to go. And, with a coach of his magnitude, he's going to have his team in a good position and be well prepared. Can they get the job done is the question. They don't even have to get the job done, though. Just hang inside the number, be competitive. And Villanova's toughened themselves up, big man, with a tough schedule, some good opponents. I feel they're playing better and better basketball with each passing game. But I'm still not necessarily in love with laying 6 with them just yet. And UConn, to me, is going to give them everything they can handle here in this game. Not going to be involved, but I'm fascinated to see how UConn handles Villanova in this game.
Yeah, I just think with Villanova, I think we're starting to see some improvement there. But again, you still don't have a point guard, frankly, and you still have turnover problems. Villanova's turning the ball over about 19% of the time on offense. I mean, not great. And for a UConn team that gets and forces turnovers, they have a lot of senior leadership. Jalen Adams, guys like that have been with this program a long time. Altuve Gilbert, vital. Terrence Smith is a senior. So again, this team is been there a while. A lot of these guys will look forward to a game like this. We obviously know Villanova is a team that is not playing well, frankly, over the season. They should be better than they are. You have a Villanova team that loves the 3. They're way too dependent to me on the 3. I think they're one of the top teams in the country as far as attempts. I think they shoot threes like 34, 35% of the time. You have a team that's very good from the 3-point defensive stripe with UConn. They handle those kind of shots. They really wall off the perimeter and make you make better decisions. I think at this number, I'm still interested at 6.5. The number was 7 last night. I did a podcast with Greg Peterson, and we talked about this game. It was at 7 then. You look at the line here, you have about 1,200 tickets on this game. All the money's on Villanova, 61 ticket, 69% of the dollars, yet the line has dropped a half a point or a point. This looks like, again, when you're using lines in the college ranks, you obviously want to focus on some of the bigger matchups. It's a lot more meaningful. UConn looks to be a sharp play by a lot of accounts here, and I think it makes sense. I think they're a solid team. I would think this comes down to the wire. Something wrong with Villanova. They don't have a point guard.
All right, looking at UConn here, big man, plus the points in this game. And we'll get one more that we'll go through, and then we'll get some of big man's games because he's got to leave the show a little bit early. But he's probably got something on this game. He's got to. It's Temple and Drexel. It's a Big 5 matchup here in the city of Philadelphia. Temple laying 11, pretty much across the board here. Total 151.5, 152.5. Like, there's a lot to like about Temple this season. There's no question. Shiz Alston's been a great player for them, leading them in that backcourt, but you've mentioned it before. You're never a big man of Temple's big men. You're not a fan of Temple laying double digits very often, and here they are laying double digits. And I know for a fact, going back last season, you can go back 2 years under Fran Dunphy, it's not the point spread rule where Temple's been their most fruitful, where they've been their most profitable, not by a long shot. And in a rivalry setting with this Drexel team coming in here, I know Drexel has had some up and down results so far this season, but in the city rivalry game, you usually get these teams step up when they play a team like Temple. I could only back Drexel here. In fact, I kind of like Drexel a little bit, plus the points.
Yeah, I like the over, 150.5. I think this game goes over. And we start with Temple. Look, Temple's going to score in this game. Drexel can't defend. And that's one thing Zach Spiker's team has had a lot of problems with. They're not a great defensive team. They're going to give up 80-plus points a game. That's just what they do. You look at this year, I mean, they're giving up effective field goal percentage of 57%. That's very high. I mean, that's 335th in the country. It's one of the worst in the country. So Temple's going to have and be able to run their offensive set. Shiz and Quentin Rose should have big games here. N'Kosi Perry, not N'Kosi Perry, Nate Pierre-Louis. Sorry. Nate Pierre-Louis should be able to give them something. Guys like Devondre Perry in the corner. They should have plenty of open shots, and I'm sure they'll be very effective here. This game's being played at the Palestra, for anyone that's curious. It's a neutral site, but for Philadelphia teams, this is more of a Drexel home game. Drexel is very close to the Palestra. It's blocks away. Temple's in North Philadelphia, so it's a bit further, but it's very close for both these teams, very used to for both of these teams. And this is actually Fran Dunphy's last game in a Palestra. Started his career, was a coach at Penn for many years. So, look, I'm not a Fran Dunphy guy. Many know that. I support Temple basketball to the hilt. I have season tickets. I'm not a fan of him, but We got to look at what he's done for the city of Philadelphia. He's a Philly guy through and through. And it is a bit bittersweet seeing him go for as much as I've railed on the guy. You look defensively, though, for Temple. I think Drexel can run their offense, and I think they can, again, do what they are pretty good at. And, Ian, what I said again, when you're looking for a big dog to cover, can they make threes? Can they make their foul shots? Drexel, number 9 in the country at free throw percentage, 78%. That's terrific. They're going to make opportunities count at the foul line. They're also a very good three-point shooting team, and that's one of the things that I think are really going to hurt Temple in this game. Temple is not good against the three-point shot. I mean, they've had struggles all year, really over the last few years with that. The length of the perimeter is just not there. The guards are looking to get out in transition and just not great from the three-point line. Yeah, for me, I like the over in this game. I could see this like a 83-73, something like that. I think this finds a way to get over the number. You look at Drexel with their pace, they're pretty good. 107, they go pretty fast. I think that's going to allow us to have some extra possessions here. Temple's kind of in the middle, so, I have no issues there. To me, this number is a bit low. I would have had this number a bit towards 156, 157 with how good Temple is on offense and how bad Drexel is on defense. We should see some points here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Drexel's defensive numbers. I do think Drexel's going to score. That's going to allow them to hang in the number. But yeah, from a totals perspective, it's tough to ask Drexel to stay under a total when they're playing just the absolutely dreadful type of defense at that end of the basketball court that they are right now and have been for most of the season. And it's funny, you mentioned this being Fran Dunphy's final game that he'll coach at the Palestra, and it made me look at his record going back at Temple. And, I know you're right. You've been on the fence with him. You've had some good things to say about him, some bad things to say about him. He has taken Temple to 7 NCAA tournaments. A lot of them were obviously the last.
Yeah, but he's only won one game. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And he is a guy that, listen, I'm not going to knock him in his early career. He did some good things, but the truth of the matter is he is not one. We have to remember, guys, and this is important to talk about. Temple has the 5th most wins in NCAA history.
When you're following John Chaney, that is an impossible follow. You can't follow that.
But they're a storied program, Ian. This is a team that in the heyday in the 80s and 90s, this team was the 5th team in the city.
Yep.
Okay, it wasn't Villanova, it wasn't Drexel, it wasn't LaSalle. It was Temple. Temple is a storied basketball program in college basketball, and we want to see them get back there. They have a good basketball team this year. It's just a shame Aaron McKee couldn't lead them this year, but we'll see what they do in Fran Swansong. They're playing well so far. Got to take care of business again here, and they get into conference play. So, yeah, I think they win, but as I've said, Temple, I'm not a big fan of laying big points with, and the elixir in this game could be the three-point shot for the Drexel Dragons. They're going to be up for this game. They don't have much to play for. Whenever you can play a team like Temple, you're not going to get up for the game at the Palestra.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, Jeff, let's get to a game that you're interested in from a betting standpoint today.
Yeah, for me, I kind of like to go all around the board. And, Ian, I'm sure you have your eyes on some things here. I'm going to go to a game that, frankly, I think is kind of I think people will fall in love a bit with the Samford team, and for good reason. They have been very good against the spread. I mean, they're one of the best in the country, and when you can cash for your bettors, you're going to be a team that people are enamored by. But here's what I look at, Ian, with Samford. I look at one thing right now, and it's when they step up in competition, they do not get the job done. It's that simple. You look at their 3 step-up games. Ohio State, Belmont, Tennessee. Lost all of them. And lost all of them by 6 or more. And now you're going and facing a Greensboro team, while albeit at home, is better than you are. They're better defensively. They're very good on offense. Samford is a bit too dependent sometimes on the three-point shot. And the problem with UNC Greensboro is they're a nice team defensively. They have a ball-hawking guard in Francis Alonso, Isaiah Miller, Demetrius Troy. I just think they're a better basketball team. And for me, going down to Samford, while they're good, I'm looking to take them as a big dog against sub-300 teams as a favorite. I'm not looking to bet on them against bad teams because I don't, to be honest, think they're at the level of a Greensboro. I think Greensboro are the best team in the Southern Conference. I think they're ranked and power rated a lot higher for me. For me, I'm gonna look to probably get involved with laying the number here with the with UNC Greensboro. We have a number. Sorry, there's so many games here today. I forgot to write this game number down. I think it's 2.5. If it is, I'm interested. I'll lay it with UNC Greensboro.
All right, laying it with UNC Greensboro in that Matt. Let me see if I can find this number here with Greensboro, because I've got the odd screen up
It's
right
2.
now.
Sorry, guys. Two.
There it is. Yeah, 2 as a road favorite there against Samford. 3 p.m. Eastern tip-off. So, yeah. All right, Jeff likes that one. NC Greensboro -2. I'm going to go to St. Louis, Florida State. One of my games I like quite a bit today. Florida State laying 9. I love St. Louis in the underdog role. I cashed a ticket wire to wire last week with St. Louis against Houston. Matchup wise, concerns, no question. Florida State's playing great basketball. You can't take anything away from them whatsoever. But you look at St. Louis, obviously they got through the North Carolina Central game this week, which was a little bit of a tricky spot coming off the Houston game. You got this one on deck. They got through it. They won it. Look, Florida State's playing great. There's no question. Kabengele, I mean, this guy is a phenomenal player for this team. He's been excellent for them, both in rebounding in terms of scoring. He's been huge for them. I think what's going to help St. Louis, and it's helped them in these tough road environments previously where they've been competitive, it's having a senior guard, Devon Bess. He's fantastic for this team. He's able to handle the basketball, good facilitator, can score. I think you need that kind of senior leadership, especially at the guard position going into a tough environment like this. And St. Louis, you look at these teams, these mid-major squads, when they step up in class, they need to have a good showing, or they want to really have a good showing in terms of trying to put something on their resume that's going to impress people come tournament time. St. Louis is going to try to slow this game down. They have to. They can't run and gun with Florida State or else they'll get slaughtered in this basketball game. But that's the way they play under Travis Ford. They'll slow it down. They'll play work the shot clock, slow the pace down, play some defense, which they're capable of doing. They did that very good last week. Well, last week I thought against Houston, even though they fell short at the end, they got Houston into a slower paced game, played defense, allowed themselves to hang in it. They were very good, efficient offensively. They worked the ball around. They got some good looks. They're going to have to play that way here against Florida State. Again, I think I felt better about the matchup against Houston last week than I do here, but I like St. Louis in this role. I like them catching points. They've been a phenomenal underdog of 7 points or more in the Travis Ford era. I'll go with the Billikens here at +9.
Yeah, this is the role you want St. Louis in. I mean, getting points, which it's kind of, for me, the problem with them this year so far has been they haven't been getting points. They've been laying points. So, I don't disagree with you here, Ian. I think it's just so tough betting against Florida State because they're so good, aren't they? I mean, they're so long and athletic, and I'm high on them. But yeah, I don't hate the play, frankly. I think it's interesting. This is definitely the role you want St. Louis in. And look, don't sleep on St. Louis on defense. They are really good, really good. They could bother Florida State here with the slow pace, with the getting into sets and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a real interesting one, Ian. Ian, I'm going to go off the radar. And again, this is an added game, so I don't know if there's a total up yet. I want to check on it. But I'm going to recommend that whenever the total comes out, you get involved with it. I'm frankly going to take a look here, though, before we get into this game and see if it's out yet. And it is, I believe. How about that? Hey, look at that. I love it. Okay, Ian, Savannah State and Iowa today. 181.5 is the total in this game. I'm going to go over the number.
It still might be too low. That's what I was just about to say. It's still like Iowa. When has Iowa played consistent defense under Fran McCaffrey?
Never.
When? Explain.
Never. Yeah, never. No, and that's the point. You look at. I'm not going to go into a soliloquy about Savannah State. Like, we all know they're bad on defense. They're very quick possession wise, and they're not just bad on defense. They're hideous on defense. I mean, it's not even explainable. You have an Iowa team that's very good on offense. They're going to get to the foul line. They're going to create a lot of opportunities there. Look, I think Savannah can do some things against the Iowa defense that, again, like Ian said, you look at under Fran McCaffrey, I mean, Iowa. This is Iowa's defensively 2-point percentage defense. They're allowing opponents to shoot 52.5%. I mean, that's not good. I mean, it's just not. I mean, they just aren't good defensively under McCaffrey. And you also look at Iowa, very good with tempo. I mean, you look at their possessions, 16 seconds, and they're deciding on a shot. That's 62%, 62nd in the country. So very quick. Both these teams going to get up and go. Iowa will score 100 in this game. To me, I think this is like a 110, 75 type of game, 110, 77. This should be an NBA type of score, probably. I don't know where to even predict it or go with it. You look at the one game they faced. You look at the subpar competition. I was put up 93, 105, 98 again. They put up 98 against Iowa State. That's impressive. This one gets high. Over.
There you go, 181.5 the total in this game. And yeah, we still like that game to go over the total here. How about one of the big games in the day? We've got Kansas and Arizona State. Kansas laying 3.5, 4 in this game on the road, 152 the total. The home dog is appealing to me a little bit here in this game with the Sun Devils. I got to admit, I mean, this is a big game for them. This is maybe their best opportunity to get a huge win. We'll see if they can get it. Kansas, it's not. They've been feasting on Fog Allen all season long. They've been at a home-heavy schedule. All their big games and big opponents, for the most part, have been at home. And now you've got Kansas making their first road game of the season right here tonight again in Tempe against this Arizona State team. I think the Sun Devils, offensively, are going to pose some threats for this Kansas team. As of week 8, from last I checked, is not going to suit up, doubtful with an injury in this game, which obviously takes a key cog out of that Jayhawk front court. As I said, I think there's still some depth concerns at times you can have, especially up front in the low post area with this Kansas team. We'll see if they can bridge that without him on the court today. But I think Arizona State, when you look at them, it sets up well for them situationally at home. I think they're going to get a good crowd. I mean, you're usually concerned about the home games on this, a couple days before Christmas on a Saturday. This is not going to be one of those sleepy home game environments. This is Kansas rolling into town. The student section should show up in droves for ASU tonight. I'm going to take my chances here. I like ASU.
Yeah, I think the guard play will be there. I mean, the guard play for Arizona State's always very good. And with no as of week, as you kind of alluded to, that leaves a big void down low, which he can exploit in this game because guys like Daquan Lake, I don't know if they can handle a player like that. But with him not in there, I mean, I think that's a favorable matchup. So good call by you. Ian, I want to take a look here at a team that I'm very high on. And I know a lot of people might not be, but I am. And I think with the player back, they're very effective. That's going to be West Kentucky at home today against St. Mary's. This far trip for St. Mary's. You look at from a perspective of Ian right before the holidays, is going to play in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's a tough trip, man. I mean, you just played Wednesday at your place. Now you got to go to the East Coast and play, in Kentucky. This is a dangerous team, West Kentucky, and I'll tell you why. They just got Lamonte Bearden back. Bearden had been academically ineligible. He's now back, and you look at it's paying dividends. Maybe not winning games, but as the conference play comes back, I liken it a lot, Ian, to there's been guys that are just needed on teams, and they really make it. You look at last year, Ian. Do you remember Illinois, Chicago? They had a guy named Tarkus Ferguson. He's a guard for them. He just made them such a different team. Once he came back, they were effective. They were covering numbers.
And they were a point spread machine, exactly.
When he got back. Yep. And he comes back, and they were a totally different team. And I look at him a lot like what Bearden's going to do for West Kentucky. Bearden is a high-quality player. He comes over from Buffalo. He made a transfer last year. And with him, you're starting to see better results. They're fighting in games. And for me right now with this group, I think they need a signature win. And is this a signature win? I think for them it is. I think St. Mary's is a program that whenever you beat them, I think it's a good win for you. They're a team that is going to be in a tough spot travel-wise here. And this is a Western Kentucky team, to me, that I think is slowly getting started here. You look at offensively, starting to improve. They're solid from the foul line. They have guys that can score the basketball. And I think in this spot, I think it's a sharp spot to maybe call it an outright winner here. I think West Kentucky wins this game over St. Mary's. It's been a tough year for Rick Stansbury. He's had a battle. But again, for them, the goal for them is to win their conference. It's very winnable. You don't have a lot of great teams down in the Conference USA, but I think this would look real good heading in kind of to Christmas. Then they get Wisconsin at home as well. Who knows what happens? I mean, you beat those two teams. How about that? I'll start here. I think it's a tough trip for St. Mary's. This is not one of the vintage Gale teams. So I'm going to take a look here at West Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, plus the points. Or actually, I'll take them to win.
Take him to win right there on the money line. Yeah, to hell with the +2. Let's go for the win. Exactly. That's a great point about Bearden being back, and it's true. Look at what they played against Belmont. They got down early. Belmont shot well in the first half, but they clawed their way back into that game late in a tough environment against a good Belmont Bruins team. We know Rick Byrd every year's got a good team.
I had West Kentucky that night, and it was
exactly. Yep.
Ian, this year I've been betting a lot of underdogs, and last night I had Oklahoma, and that was a tough one, but yeah, I like what Bearden brings. I think he brings leadership and Charles Basie's a great player. So, and that's another thing, Ian, in this game. Let me ask you, Ian, when you look at St. Mary's, what's one thing you don't give to them generally? Is it do you give them physicality? They're not a physical team, right?
No.
Charles Basie's a physical guy. Have you ever seen him play? He's a monster down low. Those guys have given St. Mary's problems. Shema Kornowski gave them a lot of problems over the years.
You can bully them a little bit, no question.
And there's no Jock Landell on this team. Okay.
Omar Samhan, if you really go back in time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mr. Samhan.
Mr. Samhan.
Give me
a board. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. No Samhan on this team. So I think Basie could be a big player as well for them. I'll look to get a big win for Stansbury and crew at home tonight.
Yeah, my last game, the last game that I've really got a significant, opinion on. I only have really 3 significant, strong opinions today on this card. I'm really trying to go lighter with it. I'm going to fade this West Virginia team again. There's something not right here with Bob Huggins' group. Jacksonville State is who they play today. They're laying 10.5, 11 in this game in most places. They're not playing well. They can't shoot straight at all. I mean, this Mountaineers team offensively has fallen apart in recent games. Their shooting percentage just keeps on going down with every game. You know what you're going to get out of Jacksonville State. They did get blown out, in their one step-up game earlier this season, but they're playing better lately. They're covering numbers. They're competitive in a lot of games. Ray Harper's doing a great job with that team from a coaching standpoint. I've always liked him as a head coach at the college level. He's going to slow the game down. He's going to try to frustrate this West Virginia team. And I think they can do that. I mean, you suffer the kind of loss they did against a Rhode Island team that's depleted with a new coach this year, and you play as poorly as West Virginia did last week. That's bad. That's bad. The one concern I got for Jacksonville State, but I'm still betting them regardless, their turnover rate is not great. I mean, I think they're 260th in turnovers per game. That's not great. It's not necessarily something you want against West Virginia and that press, but I'm going to dare West Virginia to get their offense right. Because if you're going to cover a 10.5, 11 spread as a favorite, you're going to have to make some shots. And I'm not seeing that at all lately from any sort of consistency out of West Virginia and Bob Huggins' team. He keeps venting frustrations about it game after game, and it's the same problems that keep on recurring for this group. I'll take my chances here with that. Jacksonville State Gamecocks getting double digits.
Yeah, I like Ray Harper a lot. Big fan of his. But you're right. There is kind of something wrong. Stags Kanate, I don't know if he's going to play today, so that could be something to keep your eye on. Game I'm going to take a look at, Ian. Not sure I really understand this one. This is kind of one that just kind of popped up to me, and I'm kind of curious about it. Why is Texas A&M laying 8.5 to Marshall? I don't know that I understand that one. I mean,
dangerous team to be given 8.5 to, Marshall, with just the way they can score. And John Elmore, I mean, still there from last year's great Marshall team that made the tournament. I mean, dangerous offensive team, play with pace. I've always liked how Dan D'Antoni's run that program. I
Yeah.
like the over more than the side in that game, but I wouldn't talk anyone out of taking the points.
Like
Marshall's a
I
dangerous team. They can come through the back door, so to speak, late too if they
like
play
I'm
well.
looking
They
at
can hit their threes.
stats, schematics. I just don't really see that. I don't see an 8-point difference here between these teams. Like maybe 4 or 5, but I don't see 8. I mean, seriously. I mean, why is Texas A&M laying 8 points in this game?
I don't
I
think
get
it's
eight
a
and a
vintage
half
A&M
actually.
team. Yeah,
Get
yeah.
8.5. I mean, you look at numbers wise, offensively, they're about the same. And I give the lead to Marshall just because of their tempo and their effectiveness with Elmore. I think he's the best player in the court. Defensively, A&M's a bit better, but not by a lot. I mean, not by a ton. You look at also, I mean, Marshall doesn't turn it over. They're decent from the free throw line. I don't see the difference here. I think Marshall's a team that, why can't they go in and win this game? I don't know if they will, but I think 8.5 could be valuable in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot. I would lean Marshall too. I actually have already bet the over. I was going to mention that as one of my games actually, and I forgot that was something I had, but I did bet over the total here. It's 156.5 right now. Texas A&M, Marshall still doesn't play the greatest of defense, that's for sure, but I like them offensively. They run good offense. Elmore's a guy that can make a shot from anywhere on the floor. This is a Marshall team that is dangerous offensively. They play a very, very fast pace. Over the total for me in that game, 156.5 is pretty much the number across the board. But I wouldn't argue with the side lean on Marshall that Jeff's got. I mean, it's a dangerous squad catching this amount of points with the way they can light it up.
I'm going a lot of Conference USA today, which is never it's never a good thing, I guess.
It's always a little dicey, exactly. You never know what you're going to get there sometimes from that conference. All right, a couple more of the marquee games, and then I know Jeff's got to run in a couple of minutes here. North Carolina, Kentucky, big game here, obviously. North Carolina laying 2 points, 2.5 here in this game, 169.5 the total. North Carolina, I'll be honest, I didn't see what was coming from them last week, annihilating Gonzaga the way they did. That was impressive to me, no question about that. And for a team that was not really that impressive to me going into that game, boy, I came out of that game extremely impressive. Maybe they caught Gonzaga on a horrible day too. Maybe that was part of it. Gonzaga just didn't play well. I mean, defensively, they were just absolutely atrocious, to be honest with you, which you don't usually see from Mark Few's squad. North Carolina took advantage, but now it's got me thinking, is North Carolina maybe a better basketball team than I originally thought they were? This is going to prove that. They're now favored in this game against a very good Kentucky team here. We'll see if they can handle it. Kentucky's one of those teams, Jeff, where I'm waiting for them to have a really good performance against a better team. They got annihilated by Duke. They had a loss that they probably shouldn't have had against Seton Hall recently as well. Kentucky, you can tell. Calipari said our team probably might be further ahead this year. Well, I think it's the same old Kentucky. It's starting slow. They're going to be better in January, February, and March probably than they are right now. We'll see if they can handle this UNC team. But it's a game that's interesting for me to watch. A tough game for me to call, though, from a side or total perspective.
Yeah, I like Kentucky in this game. I think, I'm not taking anything away from UNC. I think they're really good. But, I think at times, they do struggle defensively. And I thought last week, Gonzaga just didn't play well in the defense either. I don't know. I like Keelan Johnson a lot. Keldon Johnson, sorry, Reed Travis as well. Those guys getting to the line, amassing opportunities. Plus, I don't know. Anytime I can get points with Calipari, I'm interested. I mean, listen, people can knock me for this. I don't give a fuck, frankly. Roy Williams is a shitty day game coach. He is. I mean, he's a good recruiter, but he's a fucking idiot when it comes to deciding out how to run an offense and run a defense. He has no fucking idea what he's doing. He's a stunad of the first magnitude. I wouldn't want him anywhere near a basketball court to fight a basketball team. Sorry. You could put him on your fucking Mount Rushmores all you want, but truth of the matter is he's a shithead and he's not a good coach. Give me Cal in this spot. I think they make a statement today. Kentucky, I had top 3 at the beginning of the season. I think power line, they're a better team. I think they'll get to the line here. Travis, I like him a lot here. I think he could be a difference. I'll take a shot with UK getting points. To me, this game's a pick 'em.
All right, looking at it sounds like a one possession game, and obviously, if you're going to get +2 or 2.5, even in some spots, and what you think is going to be a close game, could be final shot wins type of deal. then Kentucky would be the way you go. Yeah, I mean, in these type of games, two good teams, two good programs, lean to take the points for sure. North Carolina, obviously, impressive last week. We'll see if they can do it again here. Ohio State, UCLA is an interesting game. We got Ohio State laying 6, 142.5 total. UCLA's just been very, very erratic. Not a good game for them earlier this week against Cincinnati. The Bearcats stymied them. See if they can handle this Ohio State team. Ohio State might be pretty damn good this season. I'd lean a little to the Buckeyes here. I don't know if I want to lay 6, but I don't see a lot I like with UCLA right now. I'd lean Buckeyes if I bet that game.
Yeah, I don't have much on that one. I think, UCLA, for what it's worth, is pretty good athletically, but they have trouble making foul shots. You saw that last week, Ian. One more I'm going to throw out to you guys. This is kind of an interesting game because it's off the radar. People aren't going to really worry much about it, but it's a tough spot, and it's the good old Delaware State Hornets, Ian. To me, the power-rated worst team in the country, right? They're off a win. They beat Delaware. How about that? Big win for the Hornets here. They go up to Bob Carpenter Arena and beat the Blue Hens on a last-second shot. How about that? A little state-on-state in the first state action. But now, life gets real, Ian. Right before Christmas, you got to go all the way out to Ogden, Utah. Ogden, Utah. Let me get that straight. You go from Delaware to Ogden, Utah. There ain't no airport in Ogden. You got to get off and take a little bus over, and it's not easy. It's all done in 3 days. Let me tell you something. I think Weber kind of gets it going here a little bit. Weber's had kind of a weird season. They've had some tough games. Look at last few games. They've lost all 3, but they're playing teams that are better than they are. But you look at some of their games where they have to step up. They're taking care of business as far as beating up bad teams. Delaware State is shocking. Wouldn't surprise me if Weber put up 90 plus in this game. Good old 90 to 58 type of game here. This is an awful spot, especially off for a team that doesn't win very much, and they get a win against their opponent that is in their state. That's a tough spot. I'll lay it with the Wildcats here. I think they trounce the Hornets.
All right, going for a little Weber State action in that one as they trounce Delaware State.
And, real quick before I jump off, and then I'll let you run with it. Someone's asking about Montana, South Dakota State. I got to tell you, I think that is a great game. That's a great game that a lot of people won't really know about or care about. But if you're up in those areas, you care about that game, and you think it's going to be a good game. Can Montana defend Mike Daum is the question. And I think they can. I think a guy like Jamar Ako can defend him. Rory and O'Gueen at the guard positions. Montana's a solid team. They're well coached under Travis DeCore. Listen, South Dakota State's really good. I'm not gonna doubt you on that. And Montana's gonna have some trouble against an offense that can fire from anywhere. But I'm willing to think Montana can maybe hang in this game. This is one of those typical really good, Big Sky Summit League bangers against two good teams. Montana's going to slow it down. They're going to get into their sets. They're going to take a long time. The 3-10 in possession tempo. I think this is a great game. I have it at 6 or 7. If I'm getting 8, I'd lean towards Montana. I think they could surprise here.
I agree, actually. And I discount Montana's loss against Arizona the other night. They were walking into a tough spot. Sean Miller ripped that team good for some of their recent performances going into that game against Montana. It was a walking into a buzzsaw type of spot for Montana. Arizona was not happy. They were angry. The Wildcats played like it. They dominated Montana in that game. I think Montana, nothing else, even though they got blown out by Arizona, Montana got toughened up by that game. Now you get to play the South Dakota State team. And South Dakota State's defense still, it's an issue with laying points. It really is. And it's, again, teams that struggle to get stops at the defensive end of the court, their teams sometimes have a tough time laying these kind of points with. And that could be the case here with South Dakota State. For as good as Daum is, for as good as they are shooting the basketball, they have some deficiencies defensively and could show up here against a team like Montana. All right, big man, I know you got to run, so give us a best bet before you go.
Yeah, by the way, guys, I want to let everyone know I'm getting a lot of shit on Twitter about mentioning Henderson in my bowl video I did with SBR. Hey, not sure if anybody knows this, but we pre-recorded them weeks ago. That's why I'm talking about Henderson in the fucking video. That's why, because at that point he was playing. We do these videos weeks before, Ian. You've done them. You've actually are in some of them. You record them weeks ahead of time, right?
Well, the thing is, I didn't do the FIU Toledo game, but I know in the FIU Toledo video, there are people
Right.
talking about James Morgan. We didn't know James Morgan
Yeah,
wasn't playing
because
until the day before the game. What can you do?
exactly. We did these way beforehand. That's the point. All right, for me, play of the day. I'm probably going to have this as a play. We'll see. I'm going to take BYU to beat San Diego State. There's something not right with San Diego State. There really hasn't been anything right with San Diego State since Steve Fisher's left. Brian Dutcher's a great coach, but I don't think he's gotten a lot out of this team. Okay, they fell flat in their face in the Maui Invitational. You come back, you beat a couple very average teams. You beat Illinois State, cool. But then you lose to San Diego, your arch rival in San Diego there. Then you lose to Cal. You give up 89 points in that game. Then you beat something called Cal State Dominguez Hills. Sounds like a high school. And now you get a BYU team that I think you, Ian, know I'm very high on. Now that they have Nick Emery back, I think they're a very good defensive team. And that's not something you would say a lot about BYU. But the truth of the matter is, you look at this team numbers-wise, 60th in the country in effective field goal percentage defense. They're terrific against the two-point shot. And for a San Diego State team that, look, frankly, I don't think is that good in the half court, I think they're going to have trouble in this game. These are arch rivals. They don't like each other. But I think BYU is the better team. I think Yoeli Childs, it's a big game. I don't like the bigs for San Diego State. And I think, for me, I think they go in and win this game. Give me BYU to beat San Diego State in Viejas Arena. Should be a good game out there on the West Coast. But this is a team going one way, and I think a San Diego State team going a bit of another way, if you ask me. I'll go Brigham Young.
Yep, two teams going in opposite directions, and big man liking the team that's going in the upward direction, trending up, and that's BYU against San Diego State. All right, Jeff, I know you got to run. I'll stick around for another 5 minutes, but I'll be wrapping up soon. But Jeff, good luck with all your plays today. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good. Yeah, I got to jump off, Ian. We have a holiday party today, which if you were a little closer, we would have invited you to, but you're a bit far away. So we maybe will, Donnie and I, Periscope later from the party. I'm sure many will want to see the shindig. So, Ian, you have a great day, and Merry Christmas, brother. We'll talk to you after the holiday. See you
Absolutely.
later.
Merry Christmas, Jeff. Take care to you and yours. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So it's just you and I for the end of the show here. Just a couple games. Someone mentioned Tennessee Martin, Fresno State. I believe someone mentioned in the chat Fresno State. Fresno State, to me, is the only way I'd look in that game. I know they're laying a lot of points, 18. Tennessee Martin's been pretty bad on the road, really, really bad. And Fresno State's been pretty good at home. You look at some of Tennessee Martin's results, I mean, pretty ugly. ETSU, they lose by 18. Tulane, they lose by 13. Mercer, they lose by 17. Western Kentucky, they lose by 15. They're 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread in true road games for this Tennessee Martin team. So I know you're laying a lot of points here with Fresno, but there's not enough on this Tennessee Martin resume away from home to trust them on the road, even getting this many points. So it's Fresno or nothing for me in that game. So there we go. College basketball. Let me quick hitters on some of these games, just some of the bigger games before, and then I'll actually run down a couple hockey plays I like and the college football bowl games that I like today right at the end of the show, and then I'll give you a best bet. We'll sprinkle it around on the other sports. We got Illinois, Missouri. I like Illinois a little bit there. I don't love it. Saline might be a small play for me only, but I like Brad Underwood as a coach. I know he's had a tough, start, I guess you could say, with Illinois, but I think you've seen them be competitive. They gave Ohio State a pretty good game recently. Missouri was damn impressive against Xavier. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think Illinois is going to give them some. I don't mind the matchup whatsoever here for Illinois. I'd like to be getting maybe a little bit more in terms of points. You're only, they're in a situation where Illinois is going to have to win the game to cash a ticket, but I lean a little bit to the Illinois side, plus 1.5 there in that game against Missouri. You've got the San Francisco Dons against Stanford. And here we go again. A West Coast Conference team, a pretty solid West Coast Conference team, laying points against a Pac-12 team. It's not the first time we've seen that this season. But I kind of like San Francisco there. I'm not going to be, people are going to say Stanford from the Pac-12 is getting 9 points against San Francisco. And if you do your homework, you'll realize San Fran's a pretty good basketball team this season, that maybe you don't want to be rushing to go against them taking these points. San Francisco, the West Coast Conference is no joke this year. It's always been Gonzaga and St. Mary's, but you got some other teams now playing decent. You got Loyola Marymount's been solid. San Francisco's been good. The San Diego Ferreros have been excellent so far this season. So there are a lot of teams that have played pretty good basketball from that conference. San Fran's one of them. I do not want Stanford. It's San Fran or pass for me in that game. Vanderbilt, Kansas State laying 4, 134 the total. K-State's been a juggernaut at home. They really have come out. Stokes literally stoking this team for the Wildcats. He's been terrific offensively for K-State. They played very, very good defense. Southern Miss in the first half, actually, surprisingly, they caught fire from the field against Kansas State. But boy, the Wildcats turned it around, played better defense late in that game against Southern Miss. Laying only 4 at home. Vanderbilt, I like Bryce Drew a lot as a coach, no question. But going on the road where K-State's been pretty good, I lean a little bit to K-State there. Won't make my card probably in the end, but I do favor the Kansas State side a little bit there in that game. What else have we got in terms of these? Colorado laying 8 against Indiana State. I lean to the Sycamores there a little bit. Indiana State as a road dog is not a role that I mind them in by any stretch of the imagination. Colorado, to me, still not playing great. Still not a team I trust laying 7.5, 8 points. It's been mostly disappointing for Colorado to this point. So I lean a little bit to Indiana State in that one. That's about it. There's a ton of other games. We've only got an hour. We can't hit them all, but that's pretty much it in terms of main games I'm interested in. Murray State Auburn's an interesting game. Auburn coming off the loss against NC State on the road. They're back home. People liking the spot for Auburn. Bounce back spot at home where they've been pretty good against Murray State. But Murray State's no joke. Murray State can play. This line's climbed. I know it's an Auburn spot, but Murray State's a good basketball team. They're getting 14 now in this game. I understand Auburn's upset after losing on the road to NC State. They didn't shoot well. It was one of their worst offensive games of the season in the loss to the Wolfpack. But be careful giving Murray State this number of points. Not going to be an easy matchup, I know, for Murray, but they can play a little bit. The number's just a bit too high for me. I understand Auburn bounce back theory and all that, but would definitely be leery, I should say, of going against Murray State, catching a full 14 points in that game. Quickly, NHL, and then I'll get to the bowl games at the end because that's not save the best for last, but everybody's excited for the bowl games. NHL, I kind of like Philadelphia, believe it or not. They've got something going right now. They're playing good since the coaching change. When Dave Haxtell got fired, Scott Gordon taken over as the head coach. Carter Harden nets delivered for them so far. I kind of lean to them at home at minus 115 there, playing good. Columbus, they're also getting great goaltending right now from Bobrovsky. Under the total, actually, in that game is the way I'd go too. 6.5 is a high number. Bobrovsky's in a good form. Philly's committed to play better defense. You got Carter Harden net for them playing well. I'd lean Flyers and lean under the total in that game. You got Anaheim and Buffalo. Anaheim off a loss against the Boston Bruins the other night, but still playing pretty good hockey against the Sabres, who are on the second night of back-to-back. Probably a little edge to Anaheim there. Toronto's offense is going again. Their power play is going again. They're playing the Rangers tonight. When that happens, I can only bet overs in Toronto games. They've cashed 2 straight overs since they got their offense going again against New Jersey and Florida. The last 2 games, they got it reignited. I kind of like Rangers Leafs over 6.5. I'm going to keep riding Tampa Bay over the total. Every Tampa Bay game recently has gone over the total. They're playing Edmonton tonight. I know Edmonton's made a concerted effort to be better defensively in their own zone under Ken Hitchcock, improve their play away from the puck, but I think they're going to be up in tough trying to slow down this Tampa offense the way they're going right now. Should see some goals there. I would go over the total with Tampa Edmonton. Winnipeg Vancouver's an interesting game. You've got Vancouver playing some decent hockey now. It's been a nice little run. They've been competitive in a lot of games. taking on a Winnipeg team that has been very, very good off the loss. They proved that the other night against San Jose. Mark Scheifele playing great. Patrick Laine, a lot of weapons offensively for them. Josh Morrissey, the defenseman's really stepped up for the Jets as well, played well. So very interesting hockey game there. But, Vancouver's played well enough that maybe they're a potential live underdog, plus 125 in that game. And it's Laurent Brossoit in net for the Jets, not Connor Hellebuck. So they're going with the backup goalie in that one. So Winnipeg there. Vancouver might be worth a little look there in that game. All right, let's get to bowl games. We've got let's see how many, and then I'll give you my best bet. We got 4 bowl games: Birmingham Bowl, Memphis Wake. Memphis laying 2.5, 371 the total. I'm on Wake in this game. I know Greg Dortch has been ruled out, the wide receiver. People were a little worried about that development, but Wake to me played their final game of the regular season against Duke like a team that wanted that 6th win, wanted to be in a bowl game. They played like it. They dismantled Duke. They played like they wanted to be in a bowl game. I expect that enthusiasm and excitement to carry over into this game. Memphis, they're without Darrell Henderson, the running back. Their defense isn't any good. Who knows where their headspace is at after losing the conference title game against UCF? It was such a tough loss for the Memphis Tigers. I think they may be a little bit flat for this game, not as up for this game as, say, Wake Forest is. And, of course, motivation is a big part of these early bowl games. Dave Clawson's got a good bowl track record. Wake's 2-0 straight up under Dave Clawson in bowl games. There's a lot to like here for Wake. I like them. I think they win this game outright against Memphis, so I'll look toward Wake Forest in this basketball game, or not basketball, Wake Forest in this football game, getting +3 against Memphis. Houston Army, we've got Army 6.5, 7, 55.5 the total. I got a much better number with Army than what's out there right now. Army was laying as low as 3. It's gone all the way up to 6.5, 7, and you can understand why. I mean, Army, they always get, they always have that great effort at bowl games. They have matchup edges in this game, as far as I'm concerned. They're triple option against a bad Houston Cougar run defense that was not good this season, that is now going to be a defensive line in complete disarray going into this bowl game. Ed Oliver sitting out. The 3 key starting defensive linemen injured, not expected to play for Houston in this game either. That's just the worst kind of thing you could ask for. It's the worst kind of thing you could want going up against the Army triple option. I think Army's got the and again, we've got, I think, one of the key receivers too for Houston not playing. Quarterback Clayton Tune is going to have to play with De'Ara King injured for this Houston team. So there's a lot of issues for the Cougars in this game. The one issue now that it's 6.5, 7 is, boy, Army plays slow. They drain that play clock almost right down to 0. They don't play with any pace. Are they going to be able to build up enough of a margin to win by a touchdown or more, which is now the price range that where if you're taking Army now, they're going to have to win this game by a touchdown or more. That's the only concern, but they've got so many matchup edges. You got to wonder where Houston is mentally with all these guys out. Key cogs out for this bowl game. So I played Army at 4.5. It's gone up, but I don't want Houston. It's Army or pass. Buffalo taking on Troy. Buffalo laying 1, a total 49.5, 50.5. Lots of love for Troy. A lot of people like Troy. I say hold the fort just a little bit. I don't love Buffalo. I like the over more than the side in this game. Buffalo, to me, from what I've read, they're pissed off. They blew that MAC championship game against Northern Illinois. Didn't sit well with Tyree Jackson. Didn't sit well with Lance Leopold, the coach. They've been talking about wanting to make amends. And Troy, to me, defensively, was very good in Sun Belt play. How many times did they have to go up against an explosive offense? How many times did they have to face a quarterback with the potential NFL prospects that Tyree Jackson has? Not very often. One time they did was Boise, first week of the season, Brett Rippon, and that Boise State offense absolutely carved up Troy's defense. But, Sawyer Smith, the quarterback for Troy, who's taken over late in the season at that spot, played better. Troy offense played better down the stretch. And one thing you get from a Troy team under Neil Brown in bowl games, you get offense. This team's well prepared. They execute well on offense. They've done it each of the last few years. They've gone over the total in every bowl game Troy has had under their current head coach, Neil Brown, who's a very good offensive mind, good offensive in terms of putting together an offensive game plan, scheming. He's able to do that. I think this total is just a bit too low. They're not stopping Buffalo. Buffalo's got too many weapons. They haven't faced an offense that I think can throw as much at them as Buffalo can for quite some time. But Troy's going to score too. I mean, Buffalo's defense, we saw it against Northern Illinois. Couldn't hold a lead against what was a pedestrian Northern Illinois offense. Troy's going to score their points too. I lean Buffalo. I like the over more in that game. Over's 49.5, 50 right now, pretty much across the board. And the weather's going to be fine in Mobile, Alabama for that Dollar General Bowl. It's going to be clear skies, no wind, not that cold, weather conducive for the offenses in that game. And last game, we've got Hawaii Bowl. Louisiana Tech, Hawaii. Louisiana Tech's taking money. Hawaii was the favorite. They opened as a 2-point favorite here. Louisiana Tech now favored by 1.5. And I agree with the move. I think Louisiana Tech's the better team. From what I've read, they're interested in winning this game. The distractions aren't going to be, we hope, not going to be prevalent. They're treating this like a business trip. And if they come to play, they're better than Hawaii. They're just an all-around better team. You go, Nick Rolovich, give him credit. Getting Hawaii to 8 wins is pretty good. Did a good job. But then you look at that schedule and who, Hawaii played and who they beat. They didn't beat many quality foes. And now their offense, which was very good, Cole McDonald, and even Siobhan Cordero, when he came in, he played well. Now you're going up against a very good Louisiana Tech defense. Louisiana Tech offense was hit or miss. Their defense wasn't. Their defense was very good all season long, Louisiana Tech. I'm going to go up based on from what I've read that Louisiana Tech is excited and wants to win this bowl game. And if they show up, they win. I think they're just a flat out better team. I agree with the money move here toward Louisiana Tech. That's the way I bet it. I took them at +1. Still like them now at the current number, Louisiana Tech. So just to recap, I like Wake. I like Army. I like Buffalo Troy over the total. A little lean to Buffalo as well. And I like Louisiana Tech to get the job done against Hawaii in the bowl games. All right, best bet before I wrap up the show in college basketball. I'm going to go right back to Kansas, Arizona State. And I'm going to go with Arizona State here. You can get +3.5 with them against Kansas. The Azubuike loss, I think, is going to show up here in this game. This is one of the best opportunities for Arizona State to get a big-time win at home against a marquee opponent. I think they got the chance to do that. Kansas has played good in a lot of games, found a way to beat Tennessee, found a way to beat Villanova, but they have not been winning a ton of games by margin. And now going on the road for the very first time this season, I think they're going to get a challenge here from Arizona State. I think Arizona State can win outright. In fact, I can get 3.5, 4 points with Arizona State. It's just a nice little bonus. Give me Arizona State. Let's see what the best number is. I think it's 3.5 now. Yes, 3.5 on Arizona State. That'll be the official number that's widely available. I'll go with Arizona State +3.5 against Kansas for my best bet for the closing line show. That's going to wrap it up, guys. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Big Man, of course, for joining me for the majority of the show as well. Merry Christmas to everyone. Good luck with your wagers. Make sure you take some time out. I know betting is 365 days a year. I understand that for all of us, including me. Take some time out to spend Christmas with your family, with your friends, the people that are closest to you, and spend some time with them. That's, take some time out to enjoy your families over the holiday season. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? So Merry Christmas to you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We appreciate that. Good luck this weekend. Good luck today with all of your wagers. And we will be back, I believe, next Saturday. We're still on the air. We'll be back next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, with another edition of the college basketball closing line. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the games and good luck.